Yeah, pretty exciting day. We got our jockeys for the first time today, and none of them have ridden an ostrich before, although they are professional jockeys. But it's a little different riding an ostrich.
Très difficult.
I quickly realized that there are going to be crashes on every single race, because they're very, very difficult to ride. In ostrich, you only have one balance point. You can't go forward, you can't lean back, and you don't have any side to side. As soon as you get to the side, then the ostrich veers and falls.
Yeah, we had 3 or 4 tumbles. Nobody seriously hurt, thank goodness.
My number is 5. Number 5 is good. It's good, Chevalier. Thanks. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I think some of my favorite memories from Morocco is just the people. It's this eclectic mix of old world and cosmopolitan, and their people are gracious and generous and nice and accommodating. It's such a great culture.
Hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you, and you? Yeah.
The Moroccan people are the sweetest, kindest people and the hardest workers. When you go to Marrakesh, you have like this sort of westernized area, and then as you travel farther and farther out, you see this beautiful culture. And there's nothing better than being in a place where you feel like you go back in centuries, you know. The realism of it is all in there.
We did a lot of our filming in England and at the Pinewood Studios, which has the largest stage in Europe called the 007 stage, where they did a lot of the Bond films. And on that stage, we built this enormous exterior of the castle.
This is the lower part of the wall. Right. And that's the upper part of the wall. They go together.
We took over 9 of their 11 stages with our sets.
We've got 9 stages, and we've turned them all over 2 or 3 times, so it's 35, 40 sets, probably. So, yeah, I'd say this is, you know, it's the largest in scale and scope.
I didn't want to make it a fantasy. I wanted to make it seem as it must have seemed to people in the 4th and 5th and 6th century, which is when this is set. And what I then wanted to do was to have a big contrast between the world of the prince and the world of the princess.
The Persian stuff was obviously based on Persian period architecture around the sort of turn of the century. And with regards to, obviously, the Alamut, you know, it's based a lot on sort of Hindi-style architecture, so in its materials and motifs.
Why would Dastan come to Avarat, where he knows it's dangerous?
I was wondering the same thing.
We have Nassaf, which is the Persian royal city, and that, in terms of colours, I wanted to use black reds, a sort of warring nation, a defensive nation, and then there's Alamut, which is, you know, alabaster creams, sparkling blues, flaking gold leaf, flaking limes, in terms of wall finishes.
A lot of this was obviously built in Morocco as well, so it feels like you're in a parallel sort of world, you know. It's really weird because a lot of it is the same as what you saw in Morocco.
In the A stage, in the set there, the bazaar, all the doors and shutters, metalwork, were all sourced in Marrakesh.
And action!
Jake did such an amazing job training himself for this film. First of all, he had to learn sword fighting. He had to learn how to run and to jump and to fall.
I expected the acting, I expected the lovely looks, but what I didn't know about him was that he would be an absolutely God-given action hero. He can fight and he can ride and he can clamber and jump.
We did a ton of fighting rehearsal. I mean, starting with like a strike and a parry, and then slowly moving on to much more difficult choreography.
And now he stabbed, and that stabbed him on that.
Right, good, good, good.
It's easier for me when you come at top because then I can really bring you over.
Yeah, okay.
As far as a fight coordinator is concerned, he takes direction, but he also wants to put the flavor of his character in, which is just very commendable.
Action!
The character in the game does an enormous amount of parkour, so it's something that we incorporated also into the film.
David Bell. It was great. I mean, first of all, he's the founder of it all, so it was interesting to listen to him. And he came up with 4 or 5 not-so-little bits that really added to the film.
En fait, j'interviens dans le film de Prince of Persia en tant que chorégraphe pour définir un peu toutes les scènes d'action, amener un côté authentique. On voit le personnage faire des vrilles, des mouvements, des acrobaties, et je suis un peu là pour donner un sens et justifier cette action pour que ça soit bien inclus dans l'histoire.
When Dastan jumps off of things and flies off of things, any extremely talented gymnast could probably pull those things off. And in fact, when we do them on set, they're the real thing. And that has a nice feeling of reality, and I think an audience will really pick up on that.
Dans le cinéma, on essaie de trouver ce qui va être le plus joli, le plus impressionnant, et des fois, c'est pas forcément logique ou crédible. Le parcours se pratique dans des configurations réelles. Et c'est vraiment toutes les différentes possibilités de passer dans des endroits suivant les architectures, des immeubles et tout, qui font faire au corps des mouvements un peu différents de tous les autres sports qu'on a vus.
Tu fais comme ça, t'arrives ici, tu bloques, tu te retournes, tac, tu sautes.
It's so exciting to watch. I mean, these people are jumping and bouncing off walls and off ceilings, and they do it all, you know, through their physical force.
We incorporate the new parkour, free running into the old style of battles and fights, and that gives it a different flavor.
My favorite movies are always a mix of everything, you know, every department, from, you know, real production design that's detail-oriented and can be really interacted with, along with the stunts. A mixture of all that, you know, is what makes it the movies I love, you know, great. And I think this is one of those movies.
All right, now then, Jake, start to swing it a bit towards me more.
You've got to make it all work. Every tiny little corner of it has got to be of a piece. So you're absolutely making up a world in which the characters in the story can believe what is happening to them.
Prince of Persia is an epic film, from the locations to the action to the adventure, all the things we love going to the movies for, to get away from our lives for a couple hours and join our characters in a world that they'll never be a part of and something they've never seen before.